Never mind. We seem to be good now. So for those of you that are new to DealSniper, one thing that you'll notice first, always take note. You see how much it's listed for, right? Unless you know for a fact that there is a mortgage, which you shouldn't. I mean, you don't have to. Always just hit no. Okay. Now you'll notice DealSniper is a it's I'm oversimplifying it here by calling it this. It's a calculator. Okay. Yes, it's scraping data, it's unblocking data from certain companies, it's pulling it from multiple locations. But for this portion here, where it's generating the offer, it's a calculator. So you want to make it not look like this when you send it out. And what I mean by that is we're going to do a purchase price of $984,500. That's ridiculous. We're going to do a down payment of $68,915 with a monthly payment of $889.67. No. Now, yes, I have an issue where I like nice, clean numbers, but do yourself a favor and just clean it up. Okay? Clean everything up and make sure you do it from the top down, because then it doesn't look like a computer did your offer. Now, some of you might be asking, well, Sean, you just took off $89 off that monthly payment. Why'd you do that? I'll get into that. I'll get into that when we go into the underwriting. Do we have an HOA? No. Okay, good. All right. So what specifically did you need?
So if you look at the description, this is a weird one, right? But
Okay.
let's assume it's just the two that are listed, so just 2 units. How would I go about what's it called, creating an accurate offer? If because I know the rent, I don't think the rent specifies for it specifies for I think just one building. It doesn't for 2 units or multiple units. How would I go
Oh,
about
you
doing
mean in
this?
DealSniper?
Yeah.
Okay, let's check. That's good. Let's check. Let's check. So let me get. So what I'm going to do right now. This is this is the way that I do it when I'm using DealSniper, and that's just because of with my experience and the way that I like to close deals. I want to make sure that I have all my information. That's a next level move for most of you. Like the one like Chris, Leo, Tyler, you guys obviously do your thing. But for those of you that are new, I'm going to teach you how to underwrite a deal, and I think that you should get in the habit of underwriting your deal, especially for situations like this. And I'm going to show you why, because you know what, dude? I think you're right. I don't think it's calculating it for both units. You want to make sure you're double checking your numbers, because, again, the last thing you want to do, you're sending out 20 offers a day, 100 a week, and a realtor gets back to you and says, yeah, we'll take it. And then I go to underwrite the deal, and I underwrite it the way that I'm about to show you guys now, and then the numbers don't work. That's just going to suck. So get into the habit of doing what I'm doing. Okay. It's going to look intimidating. It's not. It's not at all. So I'm using the deal machine calculator, and all I'm going to do is pull the numbers from here. It already gives me the numbers. This is basically data entry. DealSniper already did the math for you. All right. So what do we have? $984,000 purchase price, $69,000, $915,000, $800. And then let's put that in. Okay. So we have a 984,000 purchase price, 915,000. Right? Yep, that's right. And then we had 69,000 going to the seller. We always want to shoot for a $10,000 assignment fee. And then DealSniper says that the rent is $269. So what I want to do now is I'm going to go to, this is what I use to double check the rents. Zillow does it. That's not what I wanted. Let me get the address again. Hold on one second. Okay. So let's go ahead and take, how many bedrooms and bathrooms
4 bed, 4 bath.
for each?
Not for each.
Okay, so then it's a
Oh,
2-2.
too bad, too bad. Okay, so you
Okay.
see that answered the question itself. Because what I would do is I'll put 4 bed and 4 bath, but I'm like that. I think they're pulling up comparables that are exactly that. So that's what I was confused about.
Yeah. So in this situation, what I would typically do, again, I know what it says, but because there's every investor has their own way of checking rent. Some of them use Zillow, Redfin, some will use Renometer, some of them will use Privy. So you're never going to be exact. Which as long as as long as you're not making up the rent out of nowhere just to make the numbers fit, you should be good just using whatever. This is what I like to use because for me it's pretty accurate. So with that said, I'm only going to count $1,700. It says it's 1746. I know, but I'm only going to do 1,700. So 1,700
So
and
3,400
two of
for
them. So
both.
this will be, yep, 3,400. All right. So now, if you guys notice on this one, it's giving me a payment at 0% interest, 915,000. We should be at $2,500 a month as the payment. So DealSniper is saying 800, or it's at 889, but it's saying that because it's taking this as one of the units and not both. So even if this Zillow number is accurate, which it very well could be, there's always going to be a variation. The rent, this should be $4,000. Well, if this had calculated at $4,000, it would have made this substantially higher. Does everyone follow what I just said?
Yes.
Okay, so DealSniper did not take into account that this is 2 units. And because of that, it's only pulling rent for 1 unit, which is $2,000, when it should be about 4. We've come up with 3,400, 3,500 if I'd have left the $50 in. But okay, so you guys see what I'm saying. So let's go back to here. And all I'm going to do, it's a seller finance deal. So I'm going to click the seller finance tab. Very simple. Now let's put in the number that it said, 2541. That makes the cash on cash return. Oh, we have to check the, hold on, I have to change the taxes. This is going to make it actually significantly worse. If I remember what they said. Okay, so what do we got? 5796 and 3759. Okay, so if we were to do the deal the way the DealSniper said, because it made a mistake, it wouldn't work. And then looking at what this is telling us here, it's calculating what the payment should be. It's doing it for you. So when I plug this number into here, my cash on cash return is negative. Your cash on cash return for a long-term rental needs to be at least 10%. For a short-term rental, like an Airbnb, it needs to be at least 12%. So what do we do here? We need to figure out what's the highest we can pay and still be at 10%. So let's go back to what it was. It was at 1250 when we got here. That's 12%. It's pretty good. 1350. 1500. Nope. 1475. Okay, there it is. 1450. So for this deal, for your deal, the most that you can give them, your letter needs to look like this. Well, that's the most that you can give them. So you can keep it at 800, but I would do 1,000. That's the letter that I would send. That's the offer.
Okay. And just to go off of, and this is what I've been doing too, based on the multiple trainings we've been having. I've been changing the numbers of DealSniper to lower, so that way I have room for negotiation. So, is that what? So if they come back and say, "Hey, 1,000 a month is not enough," I can counter with like, "Okay, how about 1,250 or 1,300, whatever the case may be." So that's how I should be doing each and every time, right? Just to give myself room to negotiate.
Yeah, because if you look here, I mean, your highest is 1450, and then you're at a pretty high price point as to start. Now, I get it; it is a duplex, but the price point is already pretty high. So you're essentially losing. The higher you go in price of the property, yes, we have investors that'll take deals all the way up to $10 million, but there aren't that many of those. So the more modest your house is, like the deal that you get under contract, the bigger buyer pool you have of potential buyers you can sell it to. So in this situation, even though this deal would absolutely work, you're going to need it at better than 10%. 10% is a bare minimum. to just for investors to look at the deal. So what was this? Yeah, 15. That's a banger. So the way that it goes, 10 to 12 investors are like, okay, that's good. And then they're looking at the deal. They're interested. 12 to 15% cash on cash return, they're drooling a little bit. And then 15 to 20% or 20% and beyond, you probably get a couple of bidding wars. If you have a good deal, and again, it has to fit all the other parameters, less than 10% down at initially, for you guys when you lock it up, less than 5%, 5% or less for the interest rate. And I mean, in this situation, my rule is 7 years, no less than 7 years for the balloon. But, upwards of close to $1 million, I would say no less than 20. It'd have to be a minimum of a 20-year balloon. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
So I'm not saying don't go for the deal. I'm not saying that. I'm going to tell you that's the terms you need to get it under. So I would say your max on the payment, yeah, your max should be $1,250. So if that's the case, then yeah, maybe kick this back down to $800 and let them talk you up to $1,250.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, I like it. Does anyone need me to go over any part of what I just did again? Because I talk a lot. I get it.
I just got a quick question.
Go ahead.
So underwriting the deal, it makes it more suitable for for yourself. So the numbers add up or match up.
Yeah. So when you're underwriting the deal, you're basically just making sure that the deal actually works, that the numbers that you're offering is an equitable deal that you can sell to an investor, that an investor will see this deal as attractive.
Okay, I got you.
Effectively, that's what it takes to be a good wholesaler. You have to be able to give the seller what they need in order to sign with you, but then also have the deal attractive enough for an investor to want to buy it from you.
Yeah, and leave the margins.
Exactly.
Okay.
Hi, Sean.
Hello.
Hi, I'm new here. My name's Shannon Hardy. And I just joined the Slack team or the No Accent Callers and joined this community. So I have a duplex under contract that I've had for a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a great deal, but I keep getting, when investors go to look at the property, they mention the neighborhood. It's in Birmingham.
Mm-hmm.
The seller is asking 65, so I've been marketing it at 75 to at least get, and it leaves room to negotiate the price. But
Sure.
the seller is only looking for 65,000 for the duplex. I did get an ARV of 168 for the duplex.
Oh, you cut out.
I did get an ARV of 168, and
Okay.
tomorrow is the closing date for. As I mentioned, I had it for a month and a half, and I spoke with the seller last week Friday to let him know that there may be a possibility that I'm not going to be able to close on it. He's open to whatever, seller finance, you name it. He's open to whatever. He's an elderly man, and he just wants to get rid of it so that he can take care of his wife who has dementia. So
Okay. Let me ask you this. So normally, no, yeah, don't say that because you don't know who's on here. So normally I threaten people not new people. I threaten everyone in the meetings because I'm very open. I want to help. And I always say we don't do the whole Game of Thrones backstabbing thing. I'm trying to do better because the way that I typically deliver that is pretty violent because I'm very serious. So don't give me the address because I don't know everyone that's on this meeting. But let's talk about the numbers and I'll underwrite the deal, and I'll give you a couple of options to give to your seller. How about that?
Sounds great.
Okay. So is it currently occupied?
One unit is, one of the units, the tenant just moved out the end of January. And one of them is occupied.
Gotcha. And then what was your rehab estimate?
40.
40. Okay. So if I go to you said you had 160 for the ARV. The rehab was 40,000. And you got it under contract for how much? 65?
65.
Have you been getting a lot of offers at 60 to 65?
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because according to this, you should have only gotten it for 54,000. So you're about $11,000 too high. But that's okay. If this guy is open to seller financing, then you can actually give him. Do you know what the market rent is for each one?
Yes, $1,000 per unit.
Each? Okay.
Yes.
Do you happen to know the taxes and the insurance?
I have that, but I don't have it on hand.
Okay.
I think I can wait a minute. It's 1,000 a year, 1,100 a year.
Gotcha. Okay, that's all I need. So you got under contract for 65. You can literally tell him that you'll give him. He's taking care of his wife. See, I'm a softie. I used to work hospice, so I know what that's like. We'll do a loan amount of 75. I'm even going to go a little bit, breaking my own rule. This is one of those do what I say, not what I do, guys. Because I'm literally breaking my own rule right now. I'll change this to 500. You said the taxes were 1,100. I will estimate the insurance at 12. Wow. Yeah, let's get him some good stuff. Okay. 1,000. That's still a good deal. Wow. You still got to make it attractive. Yeah, I know that. All right. We'll do that. I think that's a happy medium. Now, this is assuming the taxes and the insurance are accurate, so you're going to have to double check that. But you can literally, you can give him, let's give him two choices. Yeah, we'll do two choices. So if he's willing to do seller finance, we can either do, you got a pen?
I do.
Okay. So we can either do a purchase price of, what did I put? $85,000. So instead of 65, it'll be 85. He will get. We'll do 750. That's fine. So he'll get $5,000 at closing, cash in his pocket, and then he'll get positive cash flow of $750 a month, every single month. And he will. That's it. He doesn't have to worry about the tenants. He doesn't have to worry about the taxes. The house will be yours or the end buyers, and it's like he's collecting rent, but he doesn't have to pay any of the taxes or any of the war chest, any of the reserves.
Okay.
So that's with $5,000 down. Or you can tell him, if that's not enough, because he was, he thought he was getting 65. So I get that. We can give him $10,000 at closing, but he's only going to get $500 a month.
Okay.
Now I'm telling you right now. Why? Oh, that's crazy.
You only put 1,000 for the cash due to the seller.
Oh, is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, good catch. All right, because I was gonna say that's crazy. Okay, I mean that's still crazy. That's still a crazy deal. If you can get either one of those two deals locked up, you'll have no problem moving this deal. And what you would do on
Okay.
the disposition side, you would just market the property as a seller financing deal with these terms. And instead of either $5,000 or $10,000 down, you're going to market it for $15,000 or $20,000 down. And there's your 10 grand.
Okay. Okay. On both sides. On the
Mhm.
$10,000 at closing. Okay, I got you.
Yeah. And then if you want to use my disposition team, just tag me in the Discord and I can set that up
Okay.
for you too.
Okay,
But yeah,
sounds
this would
good. I'll
be a
get on the phone.
phenomenal deal.
Okay. I'll get on the phone with him in about 20 minutes.
Sounds good. Good luck.
All right. Thank you, Sean.
No problem. Does anyone need me to go over what just happened? Any questions at all? Thanks, Leo. All right. Now, Kent, right before they started talking, I think you started talking too. Did you have a question?
I was just gonna say, I think it was on the one you were talking about before this. Like, what was the issue, or like what was the
You mean over here?
what's that?
You mean over here? This deal?
Yeah, it was just like why what was odd about that one or something? I think he had-
The issue was is that DealSniper pulled rent for one of these units, but two units are listed. So
Oh, right.
typically, this is I'm not trying to take up for DealSniper. DealSniper has bugs that we are finding every day that we're fixing, but this is the fault of circumstance. This shouldn't be listed this way. Even if it's two separate units, it should be listed. Oh, wait a minute. Is that in a building? Yeah, they should be listed separately. It's in a building. It's in an 8-unit building. So technically, DealSniper did what it was supposed to do. The listing is actually wrong. We should be able to put in 1503 Brook Road and then 1501 Brook Road completely separate. So
and what did you do to
not really
fix
a
that?
DealSniper issue.
And what did you do to fix that? You just
Oh, I just checked the rent myself to see what
okay.
it was.
All right. Oh, that's all you did differently. All right.
Yeah, that's all. And then, apply the math.
Yep. Cool.
All right. Edgar, what's up, dude? You're muted if you're talking, bro.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I have a quick question. On a sub 2 deal,
Mhm.
do they necessarily have to cash flow? And if not, what is the cash on cash return you need to have on that?
Yeah, so that depends on how bad the situation is. If you got let's do one. If you've got a subject to deal, right? We'll do this one. And then let's change the rent to 1800, right? PITI is 1400. Long-term rent is 1800. PITI, for those of you who don't know, that's principal, interest, tax, and insurance. It's just a fancy way of saying your monthly mortgage payment. So let's go down to sub 2. Okay, so this deal, per our standards, doesn't work because it's less than 10%. And the rent is what it is, right? It's not like we can change it. And just like the mortgage payment, it is what it is. We can't change it. So let's make it a little worse. Let's go to subject 2. Okay, so this one has a negative cash on cash return, right? So what would you do in this situation? The only thing that you can do is sell it to a homestead buyer. So basically, you're selling it to someone, you're going to market this deal to someone that cannot go to a bank and get a traditional mortgage.
Okay.
That's the only thing that you can do, because an investor, depending on how low, when it was at 9.45, we probably still could have moved that deal because every year rent goes up. So yeah, it would be less than 10% for the rest of this year. And then once the year turns over, you can do a small rent increase, and then it would kick that up to 10%, and then you're good. And again, that 10%, that's my threshold for the disposition team to, effectively be able to move your deals. But for something this low, we're talking, 8-9 years for the rent to go up to make this thing even profitable, let alone 10%. So yeah, the only thing you can do is sell that deal to someone who has money but no credit.
Oh, okay, got it. Generally, though, for an investor, it has to cash flow.
It's got a cash flow. Yeah. Now, did you check the or the short-term rental? Does the deal work as an Airbnb?
No, I didn't. I was just looking at a deal here in Arizona. I just checked the long-term rent is around $2,800.
So
Um,
go to AirDNA, sign up for an account. It's free, and go to their calculator. Put the address in. I would do it for you, but this isn't a closed training; it's an open training, so I don't want you to give me the address. But
okay.
put the address in. Put the bedrooms and bathrooms in. When it says occupants, take whatever the bedrooms are and just double it because you can sleep two to a bedroom, and then hit calculate. It's going to give you a number. That number is going to say 22.4K. That's per year. Take that number divided by 12 and then use that to run it as your short-term rental numbers to see if the cash on cash return goes up. If it
Okay.
does, then you're somewhat back in business. It's a lot like what I was saying earlier. Not every investor, there are more long-term investors than there are short-term investors. Yes, short-term investing is popular, but the pool of people that will buy those is significantly smaller than someone that'll buy a long-term rental, depending on which market you're in. So the deal's not like, oh, you've got a good cash on cash return. It works as a short-term rental. Okay, slam dunk, you can move it. There's a lot of other factors, but at least the deal's not dead.
Okay, got it.
What's up, dude?
Since we're on the topic of subject two, ever since our training last week when where you said like to work together with realtors if we can to befriend them and not to you know what I mean, like
Yeah.
think they're vultures. So, yeah. So anyway, I've been connecting with a lot of realtors. They've been bringing me a lot of deals. There's a lot of deals that work well for sub two.
Mm-hmm.
But one objection that I got right was, what if the lender, what's it called? Because most
Cost
lenders
of
have a
loan due.
due on sale clause. How do
Mm-hmm.
you overcome that?
Okay. So for most of the bigger banks, the brick and mortar banks, basically the banks that aren't online banks like Lending Tree, what's that other one? Rocket Mortgage. They are notorious for calling the loan due if you're trying to do a subject to. And if it's a brick and mortar, if it's a typical Bank of America, Washington Mutual, or any of these other well-established banks, they could care less who's paying that bill. But if they're truly concerned about it, you can always switch it to like a wrap. And a wrap deal basically is the same thing as a subject to, except for a subject to, the end buyer now has the deed for the property. It's in their name, so they can do the taxes. They can claim the taxes on the property. When you do a wrap, it's basically a lease to own. And for whatever reason, the banks that are not okay with subject to are completely okay with lease to own. And the only difference between the deal is that the buyer can't claim the taxes on the property until they pay it off.
Okay, got you. And I've also been doing more research on that because I didn't know. Like, I know about wraparounds, and I'll do research on that. But how do you feel about like transferring the property into a trust?
Yeah, that's another strategy that works. I've never personally done it, but I know a couple of people that have done it. I think Calvin did one of those once. And yeah, that absolutely works. I mean, you have to have someone, reputable set up the trust, make sure everything's done properly so you don't get into problems when you go to pull it out of the trust, refinance, or anything like that. But yeah, that's absolutely a viable strategy.
Gotcha.
Does anybody else have any other questions on what we just went over?
Honestly, yes. I've never really done a short-term rental. Everything that I've been doing using DealSniper and finding deals on Zillow has only been long-term, and so far, my luck has been good. But I know there's going to be some properties that are going to be better as short-term rentals. How do I use the calculator to calculate that?
The only thing that the calculator is going to do for a short-term rental is when you figure out how much money it'll produce monthly, then you can put it in. But I can show you. Did I close that window? Hold on a second. I can run one for you to show you what it looks like.
Yes, if you don't mind.
Sure. Okay. All right. So this is AirDNA. This is one that I ran earlier, and this is what I was talking about. So 4-bedroom, 2-bath, but he can hold 8 guests because, 2 to a bedroom. So once you calculate it, it gives you this number here. And then all you got to do is put that into the calculator and figure out what that is monthly. So if I take $58,000 and divide it by 12, I get $4,833 monthly. Then I go back over to the calculator, and then I can put that in the short-term rental area. So let's do this one, actually. Hold on a second. Let me see if I've got the original numbers for this one. Yeah, it's 380. Okay. So this one was a seller finance. $380,000 purchase price. I believe we did 365,000. Gave them 15,000. We want 10. I believe this was 2,800. This is 48. All right. So if I go to seller finance, I got to put the taxes back. That was 3396. 111. And they had HOA. It was $100. Okay. So when you're looking at the calculator, I guess I'll just give you guys an overview of the whole thing. So when you click on whatever tab you're working on, more than likely it'll be seller finance or subject to. Sometimes it'll be a hybrid. Hybrids are a little difficult to move. Make sure you underwrite those properly. This is what it looks like for the buyer. So I put the numbers in quick. So let me show you guys. So it's a $380,000 purchase price. We're going to give them $15,000 down. We're going to do a seller financing of $365,000. The LTR was $2,800. We just ran the short-term rental. It was $4,800 or $58,000 a year. We want to make 10, right? Now it says we should be giving them $1,000 a month. So let's go ahead and plug that in. So this is what it looks like for the buyer. Okay, if you ever want to see a snapshot of what a deal is going to look like for a buyer, that's these 2 boxes here. Okay, so their purchase price is $390,000. It's $390 because we added a $10,000 assignment fee. They're still financing $365,000. They're going to be making $1,000 a month payment, and when they have to go to the closing table, they're going to have to bring $32,800. $25,000 in the entry fee, $7,800 for the closing costs, because remember, the buyer pays the closing costs. Of this $25,000, $15,000 is going to go to the seller, $10,000 is going to go to you. Now let's look at these numbers. In rent, the $2,800 over 12 months will bring in $33,600 a year. These are always yearly numbers. So especially when you're putting in the HOA, they say $100 a month, don't put 100 right here. You got to put 12 because it's over 12 months. This is the war chest. Okay, you can alter these numbers, but what we found is that 10% is pretty much standard. There are some people a little more extreme. They take 12 to 15%, but that's very rare. But this is what they're holding back every year to cover these things. When the property is vacant, when they have minor repairs, and then CapEx reserves for the big stuff. Your roof, your furnace, your water heater, things like that. You got to pull out your taxes, you pull out your insurance. This one had an HOA, so we're pulling that out. So the NOI, or net operating income, is $23,173. But then you have to deduct the debt. What's the debt? The debt is the monthly payment that they're making. They're paying $1,000 a month. Over 12 months, that's $12,000. So the cash flow, when everything is all said and done, the buyer is going to make $11,173 every year on this property, which will give them a 34.06 cash on cash return. This is a very good deal for a long-term rental. Now let's see what it looks like for a short-term rental. Okay, hold up. I got to change the taxes and the insurance. Okay. That's disgusting. All right. Oh, okay. Well, it's not like it's going to matter. Okay. So same thing. Gross rent, it's $4,800 a month over 12 months. Now, it's over 12 months, and this is like next level stuff. But if you notice, let me go back to it so you guys can see it. It's got 46% occupancy. So it's not going to be consistently or exactly that same amount of money every single year. There's going to be fluctuations. That's the nature of Airbnb. That's also why we account for vacancy on a long-term rental, because it's not always, it's more than likely it's going to be occupied, but there are going to be times where it's going to be vacant. So you have to account for that. So it's going to bring in $57,600 a year. Here's all of the numbers for the things that we associate with an Airbnb. And here's where you get those numbers and input them. And if you notice, I maxed it out. It gives you a range here, but I put the max on everything. So if we put the max on everything, once you deduct all this, the net operating income, or NOI, for this one would be $34,573. They still have to pay that $12,000 or $1,000 a month to the seller. So that means they're going to be making $22,573, which is a 289% cash on cash return. This is a phenomenal deal. If only the guy would accept seller financing. Anyway, so that's how you break down short-term rental. You go to AirDNA, you put the information in. Once you get this number here, you divide it by 12, and then you put that number into the deal machine under short-term rental potential rent.
Got it.
All right. Does anybody have any questions on what I just did? Edgar, what's up?
Yeah, so real quick, I just noticed at the house that I was looking at here, for a short-term rental, it was 63,000 a year, which is about 5,000 a month.
Okay.
So I put that into the calculator. The only thing is that I use a little bit of a different calculator. It accounts for 20% instead of the 10% that you have for the capex and holding costs and all that. So it deducts 20%. Either way, deducting 10%, it'll bring in 5,000 a month. So it'll be 26% cash on cash return.
That's fantastic.
So is that something that you can ideally try to go after and then just market to a short-term rental investor?
You can. You just want to make sure that the deal also works as a long-term rental, because you're going to have decidedly more investors on the long-term rental side than you are on the short-term rental side. Short-term rentals have taken a big dip over the last 4 or 5 years. Now, yes, it's coming back up, but it's nowhere near where it was, and it's nowhere near as big as a long-term rental. So if you want to do that, that's fine. Just make sure the deal also works as a long-term rental. That way, you're not just pushing it to the small pool. You can push it to everyone.
Okay, so in this case, as a long-term rental, it'll bring in 2,800, so that's negative 7.5% cash on cash return.
Yeah, that's not good.
Okay.
That's not good. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't push the deal. I'm just saying set your expectations accordingly, because you have to find a short-term rental buyer in order to move the deal.
Okay, you just limit your buyer pool.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, got it. Thank you.
No problem. Does anybody else have any questions on the deal machine, underwriting, or DealSniper?
I know we're not there yet, but one of the realtors that I'm connected with, she said, "Hey, do you like multifamily?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure. Like any leads, I'll run the numbers when they make sense. Then I'll obviously put an offer."
Mhm.
How do you use the calculator for multifamily? Or is that you think you're going to dedicate another day of trading just for that? Because that's
There's gonna have to be another day of, like, it'll have to be a full training of just this.
okay.
And this looks intimidating. It's not. It's just data entry. The hardest part about this is actually filling it out if you can't type like me.
Okay, gotcha.
So, with that being said, how many units is it? Because if it's less than 4 units, you can underwrite it using the normal seller finance.
I think she said it was a 12 unit.
Yeah, 12 unit. You're gonna have to. I'll tell you what. Once you get the information, why don't you? Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. Get the information. Here's what
Okay.
you need. You need a rent roll for sure, and then you need the P&Ls.
Okay.
And then if you can get, they may have it on a separate sheet. You just need the yearly expenses.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you just need the financials. Just ask,
Okay.
hey, send me the financials.
Okay.
And once you get that, you and I will jump on a training where I will work your deal with just you. We'll record
Okay.
it and then let everybody else just watch it.
That
And
sounds
then
like
I
a
can
plan.
do, yeah, that's a good idea. We'll do that.
Okay. Okay.
Does anybody else have any questions about what we've gone over? Because I'm about to go to the open forum side where you can just ask me anything. Jason,
Yeah,
what's up?
I just had one question. As far as going through your underwriters or whatever, say if, for instance, like a long-term rental, it's a pretty good deal, but if it's a Section 8 rental and it's like a phenomenal deal, would you potentially get paid more if we could sell it to a Section 8 versus a rental, or does it matter?
It does, and it does. Yes, it does. It does matter. Let me say that first. Having a Section 8 is, I mean, it's not like a golden ticket from what's his name, but it's like it's better than a non-Section 8 deal. Here's the thing. When you're dealing with a Section 8, 9 times out of 10, you're dealing with a rough area. And that scares a lot of investors off. And the only thing that would make an investor absolutely invest, it's the exact same thing as the short-term rental. You're shrinking your buyer pool a little bit if it's in a rougher area, because then the buyer has to weigh it. Yes, they get that guaranteed money every single month, but they're probably going to have to fix their property a lot. They're going to have to do a lot of property damage, a lot of rehab a bunch of times, just a rougher area. So yes, it's real good to have it, a Section 8 property, but only if you're marketing it to Section 8 buyers, because they're their own category. There are some people, a lot of buyers actually, who they don't care if it's Section 8 or not. They don't want their property, their main asset, in a rough neighborhood. They just don't.
Yeah.
So if you have a Section 8 property and it's cash flowing and you market it as such, you should have no problem selling it. You should have no problem selling it. It's just you gotta have to weigh it against how rough the neighborhood is.
Yeah.
Especially with how you're gonna price it, to sell it. All right. Does anybody have any other questions? Or I guess we can just do the open forum. If anyone has any questions about anything related to wholesaling, let me know.
Yeah, I got a question.
Go for it.
I got questions, but I'll sum it up in one. So I just learned what Section 8 was like a couple days ago, and I'm following along, but it's kind of confusing, and I don't want to keep stopping. So, is there something I can Is there any notes on Discord, like in the forms and docs tab, where I can just do my own time and just take notes and do my own research?
You know what? No, but I can make some for you.
Really?
So what I'll do, so everything that's in the Discord, everything that's in Sean's deep dives, everything that's on my YouTube channel is me making a video answering a question.
Okay.
So yeah. If you guys ever need an explanation on something, especially something that you want to dive into on your own time, just shoot me a DM. I'll make you a video about it. You can watch it whenever. But yeah,
Okay.
I will do that. You're gonna have to give me a couple of days, but I will do that, and then I will tag you. Which Discord are you in?
The DealSniper one.
Okay, so I will tag you in that one. Give me a couple of days to get that video uploaded, and then it'll be a full breakdown on what Section 8 is, why buyers want it, and everything that goes along with it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Where's all your videos, man? You said
What's
you
up?
got a bunch. You say you have a bunch of videos already made that I could just browse through and stuff on
Yeah.
YouTube or something. Where's that?
Have you have you clicked on any of the videos, the links that I put in the Discord? Those are all on my YouTube channel.
So
Even the recorded trainings, everything. They all get uploaded to YouTube and then uploaded to the Discord.
okay, so then
It's called Conversation to Close, though.
Oh, and then I'll see your YouTube channel by clicking.
Yeah. And then I already have playlists in there. I've got wholesaling 101 for beginner
Got it.
stuff. Yeah, you found it?
Perfect.
Good.
No, thanks, man.
No problem. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'm
Will
told
do.
I'm supposed to say that. All right, who else has got a question? Look at that. Sean, you're the best teacher in the world. Cool. Well, if you guys do have anything that comes up, let me know. Just tag me in the Discord. Shoot me a message if you have my number. DM me, whatever. I will help you guys out. If you need a contract sent out, there is a link for that. So, we can send the contract out for you on your behalf. It'll go to you first. You sign it, and then it'll go directly to your seller automatically. If you need help dispositioning your deal, there's a form that you can fill out for that. You send it over to me with the other documentation that I need, and my team will push your deal for you. And if you need help closing a deal, now that's a little different. If you need help closing a deal, it's a lot like Wolf of Wall Street. If you tell me the situation, I will tell you exactly what to say. And if you're dealing with a rational person, it should work 90% of the time. So just let me know. If you need help underwriting a deal, DM me or post the numbers in the main chat, and I will post what your offer should be. Oh, and for you new people, when you're using DealSniper and the realtor or the seller says, hey, we're doing cash only, do not submit a cash offer. That's a waste of your time. Just move on to another deal. If you guys saw my post the other day, there's 1.53 million properties listed across the major cities in the United States. That's almost unlimited leads. Don't try and make one fit the mold. Just go find one that does. There's a lot of them out there.
What was that reason why you don't want to
say that again?
What was the reason why you don't want to submit a deal after he says no, cash only?
It's a waste of time, because if I use $100,000 for an example, simple math. If the property is listed for 100, the rule is once a property is listed, you can only offer 60% of what it's listed for, regardless of the ARV. The ARV doesn't matter. So 60% of what it's listed for, minus your assignment fee, which is $10,000, minus the rehab. And unless the house is flipped, that's going to be substantial. So if they have their house listed for $100,000, your cash offer can't be more than 40 grand. There's no way they're going to take that. It's a waste of your time.
Gotcha. Oh, because you're staying between the 100 and 300. But
yeah, well, regardless, even if it's listed for $1 million, your max offer is going to be 400,000. They're never going to take it.
So
they're just not going to.
So when would you offer a cash deal then?
Off-market properties.
Okay, got it.
And here's why: when you're dealing with an on-market property, that house has already been pushed to all the local investors that you would sell the deal to. Investors have what they call carts set up with their real estate agents. Every investor has a real estate agent in whatever market they want to buy houses in. So for me, when I set mine up, I called my real estate agent. I said, Ava, I'm looking for, a 3 to 4 bedrooms, no more than 250,000, anywhere in this city, and the rest of the stuff I don't care about, pools and all that. I don't care. So anytime a property goes live on the MLS that fits my criteria, it gets emailed to me automatically. So any property that's on market, all the investors that you would sell it to, they already saw it and passed. They didn't want the deal, or they would have bought it. So you getting a $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, $20,000 discount doesn't mean anything. They know you're a wholesaler. All they're going to do is call the realtor and say, hey, what's the highest offer you got? Oh, we got it for 85,000. Okay, cool. I'll give you 90. So they got a discount and cut you out of the deal. So the only way you can make it worth it, because most investors aren't also salesmen. That's why they buy from us, because we're the salesmen. We're the boots on the ground that gets the deals for them at good prices. We have to get it for a price that they can't get it for, which is 60% of what it's listed for. Now, if it's off market, the formula is 65% of the ARV, not what they're selling it for, but what it's worth when it's fixed up. That's a much bigger margin. So you can get a lot closer to what they're asking for if you're dealing with somebody reasonable.
Oh, its listing price if it was. you said it was 60% on one and 65 on the other.
Yeah, if it's listed, the formula is 60% of what it's listed for. If it's off market, it's 65% of the ARV.
Oh, okay. Got it.
All right. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, that's all I've got.
Yeah, one last question. So let's say a realtor brought us a deal that's on market that's willing to accept seller financing, or just the whole thing through DealSniper that we're doing now. Where does the realtor's commission come from? That from the cash due to the seller?
Ooh, that's a good question. Okay, so anyone that's on my team is probably laughing right now, Leo, because I'm a firm believer. I didn't sign a contract with a realtor. So that's coming out of your money, Mr. Seller. However, I also understand that they were also expecting a much bigger, pot of money to pull the realtor's commission out of. So what I will do is I'll split it. Well, first thing I'll do is I'll see if I can incorporate the whole thing. So I'll ask the realtor, hey, just out of curiosity, since I might be offering to pay it if the numbers fit, what are you charging the seller? What's your commission? They'll tell you with their percentage. And then I factor that into the deal. And if I can cover the whole thing and still make my assignment fee and the cash on cash return and the rest of the numbers work, then I'll cover it. If not, I'll cover half. Or I'll cover however much of it I can cover where the deal and the numbers still work.
And by saying you're going to cover it, is that coming out of the assignment fee you're supposed to get?
Well, no. What I'm going to do is I'll show you. I'm going to add it. So for the one that I did, I was helping somebody earlier. They had the $3,000 was the realtor fee. She was charging a flat fee of $3,000. So I changed the assignment fee to $13,000 instead of 10.
Gotcha.
And then I'll go to the thing, and I'm going to see if it still works. And if it still works, then yeah, all right, I'll cover it because it's not coming out of my money. Now, if I have to add or cover the realtor fee and it is coming out of my assignment, but it's the only way to get the deal done, I would probably still do it, especially if I was new, because there is a very big psychological switch that happens when you close a deal. It doesn't matter how much you get. It doesn't matter if it's $10,000, $1,000, it doesn't matter. My first assignment fee was like $380. And I felt like I could pick up the entire planet and kick Superman's ass. That's how I felt. Yeah, Leo knows.
Gotcha.
It doesn't, but something happens mentally when you get that deal and it switches and you're like, okay, this is what it actually takes to get this deal, to get deals across the finish line. It's like a wave. It's a domino effect. Then you start. So yeah, if it's one of my first deals and I got to cover $3,000 and the assignment fee is only $5,000, so I'm only going to make $2,000. Yeah, I'd still do it. It's worth it mentally.
Gotcha.
Edgar, you had a question.
Yeah. One more question. When you're offering sub 2 and you're offering to take over the loan, what would be the purchase price that you would offer? Just whatever they listed at?
Whatever the mortgage is.
Okay, got it. Okay.
But you got to make sure you're saying that right. Subject to does not mean we're taking over the mortgage. It means we're servicing the mortgage payment. The mortgage is going to stay in the seller's name under their social security number. All we're doing is making the payment for them.
Okay, got
So
it.
make sure you use that terminology correctly.
Would there ever be a case where we would be assuming the mortgage?
No, that if you do, it's not a subject to. You're just assuming the mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
Any other questions?
Yeah, last question. So if a homeowner's biggest concern is that they're trying to get rid of this house for whatever reason, so I have a house where they're highly motivated because really nasty divorce. They both like applied for the loan together to sell the house, and now they're just sell it for whatever the fuck. What am I trying to go do here? If they're trying to get rid of the mortgage on their DTI, the debt to income, is there a way of doing that?
So okay, this is a two-parter. There's a few situations where I would not do subject to, and divorce is one of them. And usually that's because of the judge. A divorce decree usually stipulates that the asset needs to be sold and the proceeds need to be divided. And by sold, meaning not in their name anymore. And the very essence of a subject to, it's staying in their name. So a lot of times, subject to and seller finance it'll mesh with the divorce decree. So you might want to get a copy of that to make sure that you can even do a subject to or a creative financing deal in the first place. Now, as far as your question is concerned, yeah, after six, okay, so certain entities, credit cards, mortgage companies, other banks, car loan banks, things like that, big finance institutions, once your loan has been serviced for 6 months, and this is official third-party servicing, it's set up through an escrow company, so it'll all be documented. Once you hit the 6-month mark, your DTI is not going to change, but they don't count it against your DTI if a human is looking at it. If a computer is looking at it and they don't have that computer algorithm set to account for mortgage servicing, it's just going to see a high DTI because the mortgage is still in their name. But if a person is underwriting a mortgage or a loan application, like they want to buy a car and they pull their credit and they're like, okay, but this has been serviced, they're not going to count it. It's a lot like how they say, stuff on your credit, if it's bad, it's bad. Unless it's medical stuff, then banks don't really count it. Mortgage companies don't count it. Like they see it, but they're not going to count that against you because it's medical. It's the same thing with servicing. They see it, they see the DTI, they see what it is, but then they recalculate the numbers themselves once they see that it's been serviced for 6 months. So the short answer to your question is no. Their DTI their credit is going to show that they have a mortgage. But after 6 months of us successfully servicing that mortgage, most institutions, for whatever credit application they want to have run, is going to see that it's been serviced, and they're not going to count that against them.
Understood.
When do we got to get that service set up? The third-party servicing company.
That gets set up at whatever escrow company we go through.
Okay,
and then
they do it.
And then they do it. Yeah, you won't have to do anything.
All right.
Yeah, once they get the contract that says it's subject to, what'll happen is about a week and a half before the closing date, the escrow officer will call the seller and say, hey, I need the mortgage login information for your mortgage company. I basically need the login information so I can pay your mortgage online. Then the escrow officer is going to call the buyer and say, I need your account number and your routing number for whatever account you want to use to pay this mortgage. And then the escrow officer is going to connect those two. So every month, what's going to happen, if you can picture it in your head, money's going to come out of the bank account from the buyer. It's going to go to the escrow company so they can verify, cha-ching, got the payment, and then it'll immediately be sent to the bank to pay the mortgage. So that way, if there's any disruption, like they go to pull the money out 1 month from the buyer's bank account and it doesn't hit escrow, meaning insufficient funds or whatever, escrow will be notified immediately, and then subsequently the seller. Say, hey, the buyer didn't pay the mortgage, just letting you know. And then what's going to happen is, now all states are different, but it's usually 2 weeks. It's either 2 weeks or 30 days across the United States. But within 2 weeks or 30 days, a deed in lieu is going to kick in. That's LIEU. And the escrow officer, as well as the seller, whoever, is going to keep trying to get a hold of the buyer. Hey, you need to make the payment. You need to make the payment. You need to make the payment. Once that cutoff has happened, whether it's 2 weeks or 30 days, then the deed in lieu is going to kick in. That escrow officer is going to immediately transfer the deed and the ownership of the property back to the seller. Any money that the seller had received, the seller gets to keep it. If there's a tenant in that house, that tenant now belongs to the seller, as well as all the monthly rent and the deposit. If any repairs were done by the buyer, that's free to the seller. The buyer can't do anything about it. He can't fight it. He can't go to arbitration. He can't go to foreclosure court. Can't do anything. You just lose the house. And then literally the very next day, that seller can turn around and sell it to somebody else. That's how a deed in lieu works.
If you get a due on sale clause pulled, do you suggest maybe doing like a land contract or something like a wrap?
Yeah, you would do a wrap.
And to do the wrap, you need a special contract. Is it called something else?
No, you just do a normal contract, and instead of wherever you would put in the additional terms seller finance, you just put wrap.
Oh,
And then you list the terms. The only contract that has it, well, that's not true. There's two. The only contract or the only scenario where you're going to have to use a different or add on to your current contract that you're using is a subject to or novation. Any other creative financing deals, you can just put in the additional terms and then list the terms. All that's doing when you do that is when you turn it into title and escrow, they know what's going on. They know what to do. It's basically just instructions. Seller financing deal, here's the purchase price, here's how much is going to the seller at closing, here's the monthly payments we set up, here's the balloon we set up, okay, go. And then the escrow officer will read it, say, okay, we're doing this, and this, and then they do their thing.
can you explain the novation process? I forgot about what that was all about.
Novation, a novation is when you list a property, well, not you, but where you have power of attorney over listing the property. So essentially what that means is you have the authority to list the property with a realtor on behalf of the seller.
What scenario would that happen? When would that happen? When they don't want to, like, when they don't
There's
trust
a
something?
lot of there's a lot of scenarios where a novation would come into play. One of the most common is your cash offer is just not enough for what the seller wants. So you say, okay, fine. What if I put your property on market? I'll use my realtor. My realtor's a beast. She's fantastic at getting the price that you want. I'll cover all the closing costs. If the inspector or the appraiser find any damage, I will pay for that. You will get your money and I will take care of all the fees. That's what innovation is.
Because you can typically get like what, $20,000 or $30,000 more, or you can offer $20,000 to $30,000 more for a property by doing innovation.
I would say it's more of a percentage than a set number because it'll depend on a bunch of other factors. But yeah, on a novation deal, you can typically offer more than on a cash deal. But there are some caveats to that. One, the property has to be in relatively good shape, meaning B+ or better. It can't be a gut job. It can't be a major rehab because you're signing to pay for that.
How much percent more?
How much percent more of what?
You can offer how much percent more, maybe usually? Like
anywhere from 20 to 30%.
Okay.
And again, it's going to depend on a lot of other factors, like where the market is, what the market is selling for, what that particular neighborhood is selling for, how bad the rehab is, how old the roof is. Those are things that you have to look at because unlike a cash deal or any of the other deals, this one a novation will have a formal inspection and a formal appraisal. So if there is anything wrong with it, you're signing to be on the hook for repairing it.
Okay. And is there anything weird on the calculator when you're doing that or any more inputs?
The only one is this one here. All you have to do is put in the as is value.
Okay.
Let's say this one's 300,000, and then you click on novation and it'll do the formula for you. I want to make 30. So the max offer you would offer is $252,000.
Oh, I see. And that 30 is your assignment fee?
Correct.
Right. And there's nothing you can put in like a filter to like only target novation type of deals, right? Or is it newer like properties?
No, no novation. You can't do a novation deal on a listed property. You can't do a novation deal on a recently listed property, especially if you're going to be offering the same price as what it was listed for because it didn't sell for that price.
Right. Okay.
So a novation would be used for primarily off-market deals.
Okay.
All right. Does anybody have any other questions?
When are you going to talk about multifamily?
I'm going to be working with one of the other people in the Discord on their multifamily, their 12 unit. We're going to record it, and then I'll have that posted in the channel.
Okay.
And then after that, we'll do a training on it once you guys get a little familiar with how it's going to work.
Cool. All right. Thank you.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for joining the training. I appreciate it. I hope you guys learned a lot. And if you have any other questions, you can either shoot me a DM or shoot me a message in the main channel. Leave it as a comment on the video, whatever you guys want to do. Have a great rest of your night. I'll see you guys on the next training on Friday.